Okay, so let's be honest, right? If you are a parent out there, you've probably at some point just felt overwhelmed by all the advice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one book tells you to be super strict, like that Battle Hymn at the Tiger Mother thing, and the next one's all about, attachment parenting and baby wearing, and
Right.
it's just a lot to take in.
Totally.
What I really want is to know what actually matters. Like what really makes a difference for kids, and I don't have time to get a PhD in child development to figure it out, you know?
I hear you. And actually, a lot of the research in educational psychology is pointing to one thing that seems to be a major factor. And it's this idea of parent autonomy support.
Parent autonomy support. Okay.
Yeah, have you heard of it?
I mean, the term rings a bell, but I definitely need a refresher.
Okay.
So what is this PAS and why is it so important?
Yeah, great question. So PAS is basically about interacting with your child in a way that helps them feel in control of their own actions and choices.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about respecting their individuality and supporting their growing independence.
Okay, that
Right.
makes sense. And we're doing a deep dive into this today
See,
because...
there's some pretty solid research to back it up.
Huh.
We're looking at a meta-analysis, which is basically a study of studies.
Yeah.
It combines data from a whole bunch of individual studies to give us a stronger, more reliable picture. And in this case, we're talking about the work of Vasquez and her team from back in 2016. They analyzed 36 different studies on PAS, and the results are pretty convincing.
Wow, 36 studies, that's a lot. So it's like a crash course in what really matters when it comes to raising kids.
Exactly. We're cutting through the noise and getting right to the evidence-based stuff.
I like it. So let's get specific. What does PAS look like in action? How can parents actually be autonomy supportive?
Well, the idea comes from Deci and Ryan's research way back in '87, and it's all about creating an environment where kids feel ownership over their actions. It's about encouraging them to experiment, to explore their interests, to make choices. And it also means avoiding language that feels controlling or coercive.
Okay, so instead of saying, do your homework right now or else.
Exactly. It's more about understanding their perspective, like, hey, I know you have a lot of homework tonight. How are you thinking about tackling it? Maybe they're struggling with a specific part. So you help them find their own solutions rather than just dictating what to do.
Right, it's about guiding them instead of controlling them.
Exactly. And this ties into a really important theory in psychology called self-determination theory, which says that all humans have three basic psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness.
Okay, let's break those down.
Sure. So autonomy is that feeling of being in control of your own choices and actions. Competence is the feeling of being capable and effective at what you do. And relatedness is the need to feel connected and belonging to others.
Got it. So PAS is directly supporting that need for autonomy.
Right. And when all three of these needs are met, people are more motivated, more engaged, and have a greater sense of well-being. And that applies to kids too.
So what did Vasquez's meta-analysis find about the benefits of PAS for kids?
Well, the headline is that PAS is linked to a whole bunch of positive outcomes for kids, both in school and in their overall well-being.
Okay, give me the specifics.
Well, academically, they found a small but definite link between PAS and better grades and test scores.
Yeah.
That wasn't a huge effect, which suggests that other things are at play too, like good teaching and the child's own abilities.
Just makes sense.
But on the psychosocial side, the effects were much stronger. We're talking about things like higher levels of autonomous motivation, better psychological health, including things like self-esteem and happiness. They also found that PAS was linked to kids feeling more competent and engaged in what they're doing.
Engagement, that's a big one. Every parent wants their kid to be excited about learning.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they also looked at perceived control, which is that feeling of being in charge of your own life and choices. And PAS was linked to that too.
Interesting. What about attitudes towards school?
Yep. Kids with autonomy-supportive parents tended to have more positive feelings about school.
Okay, so that's a pretty impressive list already. But
Yep.
there's more, right?
There is. They also looked at executive functioning, which is basically the brain's management system.
Mm.
It's responsible for things like planning, organizing, and self-control. And they found a link between PAS and better executive functioning skills.
Wow, so PAS is like a brain booster too.
And they also found a link with better self-regulation, which is the ability to manage your own emotions and behavior.
So it's like giving them the tools to be more successful in all areas of life.
Precisely.
Now I have a question about one of the findings you mentioned earlier. You said PAS was linked to higher levels of extrinsic motivation, which I thought was interesting because isn't extrinsic motivation about doing things for external rewards or to avoid punishment?
Yeah, that's right. It might seem counterintuitive at first, but the researchers actually address this in their paper. They think it's because any kind of parental involvement, even if it's autonomy supportive, can unintentionally highlight the external reasons for doing things,
Yeah.
especially in a structured environment like school.
So even if you're being supportive about homework, just the fact that you're focusing on it at all might make the kid more aware of the external pressure to get good grades.
Exactly. They actually brought up a study from 1993 that found a similar thing. Parents who were more involved in their kids' schoolwork had kids who were more motivated by external rewards.
So it's like a side effect of being involved.
Right. And it suggests that PAS might actually have a broader impact on motivation in general, not just the internal kind.
That makes sense. Okay, so now I want to talk about some of the nuances they found.
No.
Like, does it matter who is providing the autonomy support?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They found that when both parents were autonomy supportive, it had a much stronger positive effect on kids compared to just one parent being supportive.
So moms and dads both need to be on board.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right? If kids are getting mixed messages, it's going to be confusing.
Right, consistency is key.
Exactly. Plus, they cited a study on authoritative parenting, which found that when both parents were warm and set clear boundaries, it led to the best outcomes for kids.
Okay, so 2 thumbs up for teamwork in parenting.
Definitely. Now, another thing they looked at was the child's age. Does the impact of PAS change as kids get older?
I would imagine so.
You're right. They found that the benefits of PAS tended to be stronger for older kids, especially in middle school, high school, and even college.
Which makes sense, right? Teenagers and young adults need more autonomy as they develop their own identities.
Exactly. And PAS seems to be especially important during those times.
Okay, last question. What about the specific area of support? Does it matter if parents are being autonomy supportive in general, or if it's focused on a specific area like academics?
That's a great question, and it turns out it does matter. They found that the link between PAS and child outcomes was strongest when the area of support matched the outcome they were looking at.
So give me an example.
Sure, if parents were generally autonomy supportive in everyday life, it was more strongly linked to their child's overall well-being. But if the PAS was specifically focused on schoolwork, it had a stronger connection with the child's academic achievement. And the strongest link with autonomous motivation was when both the support and the motivation were specifically related to academics.
So being supportive about your kid's choice of after-school activities might not have as much impact on their math grades.
Right. It seems like the more targeted the support, the better.
Wow, this has been so helpful. I feel like I'm finally starting to see through all the conflicting advice out there.
I'm glad to hear that. And I think the key takeaway here is that parent autonomy support is a really valuable approach. It's not a magic bullet, but it's a powerful tool that can help kids thrive both in and out of school.
And it's not just about letting them do whatever they want, right? It's about finding that balance between guidance and independence.
That's a great way to put it. And the research suggests that this balance is crucial for kids' motivation, engagement, and overall well-being.
And as always, it's important to remember that research is ongoing. There's still a lot to learn about the specifics of PAS and how it works.
Absolutely. There are always limitations to any study.
Yeah.
And the researchers themselves acknowledge that future studies could explore the most effective autonomy-supportive practices and look more closely at cause and effect relationships.
So we're not saying this is the final word on parenting.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But it's a really valuable piece of the puzzle.
And one that I think will resonate with a lot of parents who are trying to figure out the best way to support their kids.
Absolutely. And maybe this is something for all of us to consider. How are we currently supporting autonomy in our interactions with children? And what small changes could we make to foster that sense of ownership and independence? It's about empowering them to be the drivers of their own lives.
Such a powerful thought. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, keep those questions coming, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the science of parenting.
Bye, everyone.